Hi, I'm Dr. Mark, and I'm going to help you sing and perform more like the top artists around the world. I'm a professional voice teacher, performance coach, and opera stage director. I've helped thousands of singers around the world learn the techniques and methods that got the top singers to where they are. Let's talk about what makes Dimash's performance of Our Love in the Masked Singer competition so awesome. Here we go.
这他本身吗？好戏剧化哦。
回忆掀起模糊的小时候，云都漂浮在蓝蓝的天空。那时的你说要和我手牵手，一起走到时间的尽头。
Okay, let's talk about a few things up front here. First of all, what an awesome mask and costume. So cool. Grabs our attention, super unique and gorgeously put together. Really, really cool just from visual spectacle standpoint, right? So cool. Then at the very beginning, he grabs our attention too by using that kind of voice, right? And that really sets up this like feeling of us sitting on the edge of our seat, wanting to hear what comes next, and also sets up a really strong contrast to that first sound we hear coming out of his mouth. Again, it's that contrast and building up that expectation and those sharp contrasts, if planned well and intelligently, that really get an audience excited because it's just surprising and exciting and fun, and that's what we as humans seem to react to really well since we're little babies. Pay attention here with how he sets up the contrast with both what he does with his voice and his body, and visually what they have going on with lights. This is the first time I've watched it, so I just have to guess and expect what's going to be happening there. One of the tricky things that I'm noticing as I'm watching this is how on earth do you sing, still be expressive, deal with this mic with this mask in the way? That's got to be really kind of annoying as a performer. Maybe it doesn't matter and it's kind of fun for them, but that would drive me crazy. But even as I'm watching here, even with this mask on, the way he's holding his body, his legs, his arms, he's still being really expressive. And obviously his voice is expressive as well. So it's really kind of fun to be forced to focus on everything but the face for expression to see what comes from it. Again, the face is usually the first place we look to see if someone's telling us the truth, if for honesty, for sincerity, but that's taken away in this moment. So it's really kind of a fun experiment to see what happens, what reads, what is believable, what's engaging without that in the mix.
从此以后我都不敢抬头看，仿佛我的天空失去了颜色。从那一天起，我忘记了呼吸。原来呀，永远不再孤寂。
Again, setting up a lot of contrast here. At the beginning, we're hearing this really aspirate tone that makes it feel softer, makes it feel more intimate, makes it feel like there's a lot of room to grow and develop here. And probably what he's going to do, right? Again, this kind of contrast potential that he's setting up. He's giving himself a long way to go because he's going kind of far to an extreme, both dynamically and with the quality of his sound as well, being kind of breathy and soft and placed a little further back. That gives him a long ways to go in the opposite direction. If we always start right in the middle, that gives us less distance to go. So that means less contrast, which means kind of less excitement on a spectacle standpoint from the audience. When we start in the middle, it also leaves us with less breadth to use to communicate the the broad range of emotions that hopefully the performer on stage goes through, especially if it's a really dynamic song that covers a lot of territory. So let's see what goes on here. The other really cool thing that I'm noticing is with these wings that he has going on, his posture really makes a difference. It accentuates the angle he's using at his body. Also, leaning forward and back, if he's putting his weight on one foot or the other, it kind of changes the angle and really draws our attention to that. So both the mask and the wings are really introducing new elements to what we're paying attention to and what we're watching. And so far, it's communicating really well. Because his feet are making those wings go on an angle, and he's not just staying full front the whole time. Even with that mask and wings on, which I think the temptation would be to really try to stand up and still, because that'd be really unwieldy to have to move in. But because he's still doing that, it really adds to the music and what's going on. And we can relate with that. And it kind of puts this angle at it. It softens this otherwise kind of austere visual element of the wings and mask. What's the lesson we can learn from that? Well, to never be thrown off by new elements where we lose sight of the focus being communication and being authentic to the character that's saying these words and the music and what it's calling for, and letting our body to be free to do as much as it can within the restrictions that are given. And he seems to be doing an awesome job here. Clear, really clarity. So because he starts getting a little more clear, we have this sense of build, this growth. He really holds back a lot so that when we have this pause, and I'm guessing this next moment, it's all of a sudden going to be a big reveal kind of feeling behind it. But he's still getting us a sense of roller coaster, of crescendo, decrescendo, of more energy, less, more emotion, softer emotion, little more edge to the emotion in what he's doing with his voice. And that keeps us engaged, even when it's relatively soft. Love it. Okay, yeah, what are they saying wow about? Well, we get this new element of the drums being added in, a little bit of edge, and his voice, he all of a sudden drops it down, puts some more edge in it, and really gets a unique quality out of his voice. And that's really exciting. What's going on inside his body to get that? Well, he's changing the shape of this oral pharynx, and he's also adducting the vocal cords, so there's a little more pressure there, and the balance between airflow and cord closure is a little more consistent, a little more balanced, so we're getting this cleaner sound. Even slightly edging on the slightly compressed kind of sound to add a little bit of that edge to it, and it's in the lower range, so is that really going to cause a lot of damage or stress? No, he's still singing relatively soft on it as well. So it really adds to the color of what's going on in this moment. Again, wow, because we're hearing this big contrast moment. There's something just really engaging and impressive when we have a sharp contrast that is clearly deliberate, matches the text, words, music, then we'll buy it. If we have a big contrast and change in what's going on and it doesn't match what's going on with the music or the text, and those contrast changes happen mostly with pitch change or dynamic change, then it isn't near as impressive. It actually starts sounding like a mistake. So being able to understand and use the difference in utilizing contrast in a way that sounds like it's purposeful and communicative rather than sounding like a mistake is really, really important. Interesting enough, and I don't know if it's the mask or what, but this isn't a sound that I've really heard quite in this way from him before. The placement really is a lot further back than usual, and it's this warmer, more covered sound. Yeah, he sings in a more operatic classical sound a lot of times, but this is more kind of this pop, rich, kind of baritone male sounding thing in there, which is really kind of unique and working really well for him here. It's obviously a choice because It wasn't happening from the beginning, and it matched the change of the music. And you'll notice as he's switching registers here and starts going back up, he's going to pull that placement forward. He's going to shift this more towards an ah rather than this kind of place and back that he is right now, which is going to help him transition through that middle register and higher in an easier, more consistent way that we're used to hearing when we're listening to pop, rock, and other stuff like this.
我们的爱过了就不再回来，这当时在我和默默的等待。我们的爱，我明白，一定是你的负担，这是永远我都放不开最后的温暖。
Notice the posture change. Notice the changing in sound. That was huge contrast, and now we're watching the wings go up. How cool is that? We get this sense of soaring. Again, so well planned out, so well thought out, so that music is matching what he's doing in the color voice, with the words in his voice, with his costume, with the set. It's so classic Dimash in being so well thought out so that we as an audience can really follow along with everything that he's doing and trying to communicate. And in a way that still feels authentic and vulnerable, and we love it. Okay, you'll notice as he started going up in that range too, he couldn't keep that beefier sound, that kind of thyroarytenoid dominant sound that he was having in the section before this. It had to switch over into a more cricothyroid dominant. By thyroarytenoid dominant, we're talking about the muscles that make the vocal folds shorter, thicker, are important for making beefier, louder, lower notes. The higher we sing, those cricothyroid muscles are responsible for stretching the vocal folds, making them thinner, getting us higher pitches, and those kind of leaner sounds that we expect up top. To be able to get those sounds in an easy way, especially these really kind of stratospheric high notes, he's got to let his voice transition there. One of the ways we can allow our voice to transition there is by the vowel we're using back here to shape our oropharynx. These E's, as are going to help us engage that cricothyroid in a way that's going to help us transition from that middle to high to even higher. And same thing with those lower ranges. When we get into these even higher and higher ranges, if you want to start exploring there, you can kind of go with a hoo sound, almost like a hooting owl, exploring with those, trying to keep those easy with a lot of air going through so that you aren't building tension, and then slowly ease it out in from an ooh sound to an ah, and you're going to notice as you do, it's going to add that clarity and more forward sound that we get here at the top. In this middle area, as he's going through, he's keeping it soft and more breathy, more in this hooty kind of place. And again, I'm not trying to use an owl sound because that's kind of what we're dressed like, but because that is one way to kind of think about it. And I've heard a lot of different voice teachers talk about it that way. And we'll do exercises that way to explore those higher reaches there. So really, really cool. Let's see what else we got. Ah brings it forward. Ooh, back. Goes back to this whole place. So a lot of times in the studio, I get performers saying, am I doing it right or wrong? And the real question is, well, first, is it comfortable and easy here? If it's not creating tension, stress, and duress, and you're not getting fatigued super fast, then the next real question is, well, what's the sound you're going for? What are you trying to communicate? You'll notice here, he can sing with that forward, bright, pingy sound super high too. He can sing up there in that kind of whoo place. That's a little further back, a little breathier as well. And he's being really deliberate about when he's doing it, A, to give us contrast and variety, but the only real value of contrast is to give us meaning, right? And because it's matching the phrasing of the music, because it's matching what he's communicating, what he's doing with his body, everything all together, then we buy it and it's just so exciting. Love it. Check out those wings. Oh man. Okay, a lot of reasons why this is awesome. Not just what he's doing with his voice, but what he's doing with his body, how he's utilizing this crazy costume he's got on, which is awesome. So cool and love it. And he just kind of keeps ramping up that energy in every way possible to give us the best experience possible. For me, the one thing to take away from today is, what can I do to make this moment the best experience for my audience possible? How can I give them the most contrast? How can I make it so my body language, my music, my costume, my lights, my words, everything works together to create the most extreme roller coaster ride that can still feel enjoyable and authentic and believable, given the parameters of the music and the setting you're performing in. And here, I love it. Was there any moment that I got bored or disengaged? No, it just kind of kept taking me from one thing to the next. Really super engaged the entire time, and really believable as too, because he was so deliberate about his choices and making sure everything matched together as he went. If you want a voice lesson or performance coaching, want me to work with you or your group to help you sing easier, perform at a consistently higher level, book a time with me at mrperformingartsstudio.com. Also, if you want to look me up on wizio.com, I'd love to work with you there too. You can book a lesson with me on mrperformingartsstudio.com, vocalease.net, or you can reach out to me for a shorter video clip or an email or specific question that you want me to respond to on wizio.com. All are ways to connect with me, and I'd love to work with you on any of those medium. I look forward to working with you online.